Welcome. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you so much, and welcome to Blue Table Talk. I'm Sherry Hubert, Associate Dean of Admissions at Duke University's Fuqua School of Business. And we're excited to talk about our new YouTube series on our students' experience in the community at Fuqua. Blue Table Talk will focus on specific topics relevant to our society that impact our Fuqua community. And today's session is really focused on cultivating allyship and pride. And I thought it was such a wonderful theme. I was just telling them today that we are proud of the community that we have created here, a community that embraces LGBTQ plus and identities. And we're going to discuss with students, staff, how are they able to cultivate pride and build connections in business school, especially as individuals who identify as LGBTQ plus. So with that, I am so excited to welcome our guests today. Our guests, we have two MBA students and we have a colleague of mine. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves and then we're going to get right into the discussion because I really think this will be a really wonderful one. It's the last of our series today, so we're going to make the most of it. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Ashley to introduce herself.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley. Thank you so much for joining us today. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am a first year in the daytime MBA program. This upcoming year, I will be the co-president of Fuqua Pride and also ALMA, which is a newly chartered club for the American Latinx Management Association. So very excited to have you all here today.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Bruno. I'm originally from Brazil. My pronouns are he, him, his. Along with Ashley, I'm also the co-president of Fuqua Pride. I'm a first year MBA student, and thank you so much for having us here today.
Oh, thank you, Bruno.
Yeah, and hello everyone. My name is Ben Boatwright. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions for the MQM Business Analytics program. I've been at Fuqua for about 3 years now. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm super excited to talk today about the pursuit of higher education and fostering community within it.
All righty, great. Well, thank you guys. And I was remiss, so my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And let's start with, and I feel as though I really feel proud of just the fact that I am and feel fortunate to be an ally. And so let's talk there. Let's start there in terms of how do you define allyship? What's important to you in connecting with allies? What is important for me as an ally or others out there who are allies to know and to support in terms of whatever's important to you? Anyone can start.
Yeah, sure. So in my point of view, I think that it's very important. The first thing for an ally is to be empathic. So to have empathy, it's something crucial because it's hard to say, okay, I don't know what this person exactly went through, but you have to try at least to put yourself in other shoes and see what the people has struggled. So this is something that is for me very unique and necessary. And also I think that try to fight for the rights for these people, even though you are not one of these people, even though if you are not LGBTQ plus person, try to help us to achieve the rights that we need, the rights that we deserve to have as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really kind of want to touch on Bruno's piece of empathy. I think that's very important, and also just kind of like practicing inclusivity every day. So if you can, ask people their preferred pronouns. Try to use more inclusive language. Like oftentimes I've seen, my fellow Fuquan students ask, do you have a partner rather than do you have a boyfriend or girlfriend? I think oftentimes for us within the LGBTQ community, it feels like we're constantly coming out. And so kind of just being more mindful of your communication to people will really help them be in a spot where they feel comfortable, because everyone is kind of out in their own out journey. And so we want to be mindful of that. But also, educating yourself, and if you make a mistake, take accountability for it. We're more than happy to provide you resources to see how you can, learn about things. So I think those are two main important things that I would ask allies to really look into.
Okay. Great. Ben, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, so much to what they just talked about is just, I think the general gist is having an open mind with every interaction, every new interaction that you have. So anytime you meet a new person, going with no biases or just being open to whatever perspective they have to share is like a good way to encounter anyone, no matter what their sexual orientation or their identity is, but just looking at them as people. You know, you're not ostracizing anyone based on pre-presumed assumptions, but just having an open mind and being accepting and kind of open to whatever a new person in your life brings to the table.
I love that. And so, you know, it's interesting to hear how you guys think about allyship. How have you experienced it here at Fuqua? What's, you know, how has the Fuqua nurtured the allyship, concept of allyship in this community? What's worked well? What could we be doing more? Any advice?
Yeah, so I think in my perspective and experience, I've seen a lot of our Fuqua classmates really step into allyship positions. So for Fuqua Pride, we actually have 5 cabinet ally positions, and they were filled pretty quickly. And people were excited to, you know, help out with some major events like our annual drag show and then also our National Coming Out Day. And so I think from what I've seen, it's been easy to foster allyship here. And then also I've seen, you know, my classmates showing up for different educational panels or webinars because they're very interested in learning more and how they can potentially make the community more inclusive.
What about, from an institutional perspective, anything that you would hope to see more of, or things that we could be doing to continue to push the concept of allyship and have it more institutionalized?
Yeah, in my opinion, there's one thing that we even discussed yesterday because we are in contact with MBAA. So there is the VP of DEI, which is KT, and we talked a lot about the intersections that we can have between different clubs. And this is something that we want to build in this incoming year. So each club, affinity club, is going to have one DEI council. So this person is going to be responsible to have this kind of interactions between the clubs. So this is something that, at least in my opinion, I would like to see more. And I think that we are on the path to achieve that.
Yeah, I know. I attended an event that it was EVCC plus Fuqua Pride. It was just fabulous. It was excellent. You know, the speakers, the content, the theme. So I'm glad to hear that there'll be more integration, intersection between that.
Something I think that's really exciting with the format of, you know, Fuqua as a whole is we really push this idea of Team Fuqua, and it's really embedded in a lot of the ways we just operate. So whether it's, you know, designating C-lead teams, so pairing you with people who come from different perspectives, but also just like we're working really hard from the admissions perspective to build a really diverse and unique cohort every year. So by nature, you're going to walk down the hallways, meet someone new, and that's going to encourage you to spark new conversations, try new things, go to clubs that bridge these different ideas. But I think this Team Fuqua mentality that we really preach through admissions and here at school is really incorporated into a lot of the way we function, just like on the day-to-day.
Yeah, and I recognize that we spat out a lot of acronyms as we're chatting. So EVCCs are Venture Capital Club. We talked about the MBA Association, which is the Student Governance Association. We talked about DEI, so there's a Vice President of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, which is also a student position. I can't. Were there any other acronyms that we? Oh, C-Lead, which is our which is our leadership, consequential leadership team. So they're the small learning teams that you would be put in across the program. So that's great. That's I love that. Let's talk a little bit about identity, right? And so we all come with different kinds of identities. I don't want to presume that you lead with the identity of being LGBTQ plus, right? I have an identity of, a woman and a black woman, right? And so depending on what day and time, one might kind of be in priority or take center stage. So how do you identify? What's important in terms of your identities?
Yeah, so for me, I'm Latina. I'm a first-generation student. I come from a low-income background and then also queer. And all those different identities have really shaped how I have navigated the world and how I really have built my network. And so, just coming into Fuqua, I really wanted to hone in on my queerness. It's something like I didn't get to do beforehand just because I honestly didn't feel quite comfortable doing. And so that has been an identity that I have really led forward here at my time at Fuqua, but also being Latina. I didn't see many Latinas in MBA programs, and so I kind of wanted to be that representation for others and show that, we're here on campus and we're here to help you.
Yeah. And for me, so I'm Brazilian and come to another country, something totally different, especially being a gay person. So for me, my identity was, I really discovered a few years ago, but coming out gay, I was 24, so 5 years ago. And it was a very tough process for me. I was scared about a lot of things, about my friends, about my family, what's gonna be like from now on. And I remember that one day my mom came to me and she was like, okay, Bruno, I feel that you are very nervous. What's going on? And I just said, okay, I'm gay. And she was like, really? I didn't expect that. And she helped me a lot because she said, I saw how nervous you were and what you've been going through. So I'm going to tell the rest of our families that you are gay and they are going to reach out to you. And this was, for me, in my specific case, was very, very good. And to find my identity was when I really came who I am, because I felt there was a Bruno that was super shy and super introverted, but this was because I was trying to be someone I was not. So now I found my identity. I'm super proud of that, and I'm super happy with that.
Oh, that's a beautiful story. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like a conversation that 18-year-old me is absolutely screaming that we even get to like have this like out loud. I feel like I have it with
Yeah.
myself a lot, but I never really get to voice like my identity and how it comes to be that way. I feel like personally my identity is like always evolving. Like I think I'm very different now than I was, even with like my sexual identity being a gay man. I think it's very different now than it was a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And I have a very similar approach to like Fuqua and living in Durham as you do, Ashley, but I was pretty new to being open and out when I was making the decision to move here to Durham, and it was a pretty pivotal time of my life, at least it felt that way. And I was really looking for a community where I could try to be a more authentically queer person. I was really looking to lean into that side of who I am. And I found that being here for 3 years, like every day I'm more comfortable doing it outside of work. I've found comfort doing it here within the walls of Fuqua with students, other staff members. And it's really fun to kind of get to experiment with these new ways that you've like always wanted to act and interact with other people in a space where it's accepted and people are excited to hear more about you and like embrace you for that. So I came at a similar time approaching Fuqua in Durham to me, and it's been very exciting to kind of like learn more about myself and discover this identity as it's still relatively new in the grand scheme of things for me.
So what do you guys have any advice for, the application process in light of where they are in the various maybe stages of where they might be personally in terms of their identity?
I think speaking from the admissions perspective, I feel like when you open an application, you guys can speak more to this because you applied within a year, like about a year ago, but sometimes I feel like the way our application works, where you're allowed to self-identify if you're LGBTQ plus or not, you're able to kind of write about your hobbies and interests in very qualitative aspects of your life in the essays, which I think is phenomenal. But you might feel compelled to like overshare or write this like super compelling life story that you might not be comfortable sharing yet. Share who you are in the moment and your authentic self. I think our application really leans itself to kind of that side of things. But also don't feel the need to like overexpress yourself in like this online space if you don't feel like that. So I think our application and approaching business school should be done authentically. Be ready to present yourself and know that whatever schools you're applying to put your most authentic self forward, and that's how you kind of pitch yourself best when applying to those programs.
It's a good advice, Ben, and it brings me to something you had talked about, Bruno, before we started.
Yes.
Was around with Fuqua Pride. You help people determine, you give them agency to determine how much they want to divulge and how the way in which they want to show up within the program. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So within Fuqua Pride, we have different stages of how you identify yourself. So we have 3 different stages, basically. One is private, so you are not very comfortable yet to talk about your queer side or how you identify yourself. We also have open out within Pride that you just want that Fuqua Pride, the club, to know. And also we have the out that is like completely out, that you don't care about, like you are in a position that you are feeling comfortable about being out to everyone. So we want to preserve how comfortable you are feeling right now. We don't want to push anything for you, like to do something that you are not feeling comfortable with. So we want to build this Fuqua Pride to continue this great club that we are now co-presidents, in a way that people really feel like, okay, I have a space here no matter my situation nowadays. We are not pressuring anything. We just want you to feel like be yourself. And I think that's great what you said, Ben, about like when we were applying, everyone say, okay, 25 random things, the essay that we had, be yourself. And for some people, be yourself is not like being completely yourself. You don't have to overexpress yourself because maybe you're not feeling good with that in that time. And that's okay, but just really try to show who you are and which is your position right now.
Yeah, I think just piggybacking off Bruno, having that level of membership actually made me feel more comfortable coming to Fuqua. So I had conversations with Jason, Andrew, the outgoing presidents, early on, and like going through the application, I was hesitant at first to kind of click that LGBTQ plus box. And again, it was just, I was in my journey of coming out. I grew up in a very Catholic household, and so that journey was pretty tough for me, and I got some pushback on it. And so just knowing that my journey would be, like Bruno said, preserved, and people were understanding, and I could kind of move at my own comfort, was really telling to me about the whole Fuqua community, and specifically Fuqua Pride. And so that kind of made me, okay, like they're accepting me, like they're willing to go at my speed, like, and I want to embrace this. Like I haven't been able to embrace it before.
I'm really curious the way you two, we kind of touched on a question earlier, but the way you two approached the application process, like when you were looking at programs, did you ask about resources available? Did you ask to be connected with other LGBTQ plus students? Like how was navigating that from like the more perspective side of things? That's something I see every day.
Yeah. Okay, I can start, and I'll tell a little bit about my story. So I met my boyfriend on July of 2021, and one day he came to me and he said, okay, I have to tell you something. And I was like, okay. And he said, I applied for MBA and I'm waiting for the answer. So I see that we are engaging right now, but I don't know what our future holds. And I was like, okay, we can have this conversation after you receive the final answer. And MBA was something that I wanted to do like since university, since college, but I was not maybe totally aware if I wanted to do it right now or wait a little bit. And then when he got his answer and that he got approved on the early action, I said, okay, now it's the time. I want to go with you. I want to stay with you. So I started studying and I started to join a lot of events from Fuqua Pride and talk to a lot of people as well. There was one Brazilian guy that was part of Fuqua Pride, so I had a lot of contact with him. He went to Brazil once and I met him in person. So for me, it was very good, and everything leaned towards where I am right now and where we are right now, because he's also a first year and we are going through this journey together, awesome. Which is amazing for us. We are the only gay couple that entered in the MBA together, and we are staying together. But yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
For me, I really try to look at programs that welcome diversity. Again, just mentioning my identities being Latina, queer, and then also low income first generation. I wanted to be in a place where I could be like my true authentic self. Previously at my prior undergrad school and in my professional workspace, I didn't feel like I could have all those identities out on the table. And for me, I kind of felt like it set me back a bit. When I'm able to be my true authentic self, that's when I learn the most, and that's when I contribute the most. And so that was the most important thing for me. I wanted to see people, you know, who had similar backgrounds to me, who came possibly similar like walks of life. And so I really saw that at Fuqua, and I saw how they were thriving and they loved it here. And for me, that was just a big selling point.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about kind of why Fuqua. You've actually answered that question. But talk to us a little bit about why did you decide to pursue your MBA? I'm curious. What were you guys what was happening before, and then what are you hoping to get up to, and kind of what was that inspiration for the MBA?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Please.
Yeah, so prior to the MBA, I worked as an accountant, so just number crunching. And for me, although I was, you know, developing like a great skill set, I kind of always pivoted back to my undergrad degree. So I majored in sociology, and I just always had been interested in like culture, interactions between people. And so I really wanted to just kind of like focus in on that. And so just after some reflection, that really came down to marketing. And so for me, growing up Latina, my family has like a strong hold on like Vicks. That is our go-to for everything. You know, if you're sick, you rub Vicks under your nose, literally everything. And so for me, it was just very interesting how people have these, it can be positive or negative, like feelings or connotations against products. And so I was like, I want to explore this. I think it's going to make me happy. And I know I needed the MBA in order to make that pivot and couldn't really do it alone. I am first generation, so I didn't have that network. And so coming in here, I knew I needed the MBA to build my skill set, but also get the network so that I can successfully make it into marketing. And I'm excited. I'll be going to P&G this summer, working in the Gillette team.
Oh, fun! Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about you?
So for me, since I left, I have a major in civil engineering, and I remember that I was in my first internship and was in construction, and I remember that I called my mom and I said, I'm going to quit because this is not for me. I don't want to work with construction. And then she said, okay, take it easy, breathe, and let's find something else. I will help you. And I always felt that I was not sure which path I was going to. And the MBA was an opportunity to find myself, to put, like Ashley said, maybe to pivot into another career. And that's what I'm doing. I used to work at a bank in Brazil, and now I'm going to consulting. So this is something that I really wanted. And Fuqua was a great opportunity because it came together, the opportunity to make this pivot in my career. Also in terms of the community, which was something that I really, really wanted, to have this strong community that Fuqua offers. So the team Fuqua is a true thing because I can feel like every day when I come to Fuqua, like everybody willing to help you, willing to make it clear that they want you to thrive.
Yeah.
So it was very important for me, and I want to have this experience and to start a new life also in another country. I was living my whole life in Brazil, so I was ready to move to another country. And yeah, the MBA was a great opportunity. It is a great opportunity for different possibilities, and mine was the career transition, the community approach that I wanted. So yeah, I'm very happy here.
Oh, great. Were there any times throughout the application process that you had feelings of like imposter syndrome, or that this is a little bit out of reach? If so, talk to us a little bit about it. To what extent did any of it have to do with any of the identities that you may identify with? That's a double thing, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so for me, oftentimes I did face imposter syndrome going through the application process. No one in my family has graduated from college, and even then, I didn't know many people who were pursuing the MBA, and so just going through that test, oftentimes I felt like, is this for me? Like, am I going to be able to overcome this? And honestly, I felt like I think I should just give up. But I reached out to people to hear their stories and found that I wasn't alone in that thought, and that a lot of the people that I was having conversations with also had feelings of imposter syndrome and maybe not feeling adequate enough to be in the MBA program. And I know for me too, just coming in, I was amazed by the diversity of thought in the classroom. So many great points, and I would sit in class and think, what am I contributing? What can I contribute? I know accounting, but how am I going to add value to the classroom? And so in the summer and carrying on, I made it a point to at least like raise my hand and give my perspective or give my thought just so I can share something. And people would share with me at the end of the day, like, that was a great point you brought up. And I think that kind of just helped alleviate that imposter syndrome. And yeah, like, I deserve to be here. I earned my spot, and I am an asset to the classroom. So yeah, it was a journey to get over it, but definitely have conversations with different people, learn their journeys, and know you're not alone.
Do you lean on your classmates and friends in Fuqua Pride for that? In what ways has that been a nice resource for you?
Yeah, so I have leaned a lot on the Fuqua Pride community to help me through recruitment. So early on, I was given like a career buddy, Eliza Johnson. Thank you so much. Just shout out to you. Yeah, she was amazing throughout the summer, really helped me. And, I'm like, Eliza, I don't think I can do this. And, she's like, no, you can. Like, I'm going to help you. I'm going to get you the resources you need. And we're going to get through this together. And I was successful. But also just the amount of support that I've received also outside of the Fuqua community. So I recently lost someone very important in my life this early term. And it's been rough, like, going through the classrooms, but people in my section and even outside of my section have made an effort to just check up on me and Ashley, like, what do you need from me? Do you want to go take a walk? Do you want to go to a movie? And have even like raised funds for my family to help with like different expenses for the funeral. And so, as Bruno mentioned, Team Fuqua is a livable, breathable thing here. And I've seen it in more ways than one.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm sorry to hear about your loss. Yeah. Bruno, what about you? You mentioned some of the activities that you did as or that you thought was helpful as an incoming student that might have leveraged your affiliation as a gay man. What did you get involved with? Was there any resources that you really took advantage of throughout the process?
Yes, sure. So the first thing that I would say is second years. This people who are already in the second year of the MBA, they are a very good resource for whatever you need to talk. So when I was applying, I talked to more than 20 people. And of course, this is not something that is required by Fuqua, but it was something that really made me feel good about it, to talk to them. And not only from Fuqua Pride or LGBTQ people, but also people from all over Fuqua, just to have like their opinion, to also help me out with the fears that I had, the imposter syndrome that I had, because just saying a little bit about that as well. So when I was applying, I knew that I wanted Fuqua and only Fuqua. So I didn't apply to any other school, which is something that usually some people do. But I said, it's only Fuqua that I want. I'm only applying to Fuqua. So oftentimes I had this feeling, am I gonna get it? Because I only have this shot right now. Otherwise it's gonna be like in 1 year. And I even talked to one guy that he's a kind of consultant that helps people navigate the process of application during the MBA in Brazil. And he said to me that you're not gonna get it because you don't have like average experience of in professional experience. you don't have enough time to study. And so there are some people that not even just like the imposter syndrome, that some people want to maybe drag you down, but I said, okay, tomorrow is another day, let's get it started over. And it worked out. But when I started talking to people, second years was like the best thing for me. Joining a lot of meetings that admissions provided to us, it was a great resource as well. And when we joined here, we participated in different activities as well. We can talk a little bit more about this as well in terms of the Rumba, the drag show, which was super important to engage us. Mm-hmm. So resource is something that there's a lot. So yes. if you want to like navigate through this process in a not easier, but at the same time easier way, you can reach out to everyone from Fuqua and they're gonna be very, very happy to help you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm so glad you didn't listen to that advice and you pushed through
yes.
and persevered.
Yes.
Ben, do you have suggestions when you encounter applicants and prospects who perhaps are a little timid? What words of encouragement do you provide to them? Can you talk a little bit about the resources from your perspective that you think that you try and highlight to students?
Absolutely. Imposter syndrome is a real thing. Like, it very much is. Anytime you're applying for grad school, I think it's the most natural thought to be like, I don't think I'm good enough. Or especially coming to an MBA, if you're coming from a non-traditional background that's not like econ or finance or business, you're like, does this actually make sense for me? And the beautiful part of coming to business school is it does. Mm-hmm. It can make sense for people of all areas. So I think everyone, and it's something I say to students, especially when they ask, like, I don't know if this is right for me, I'm nervous about applying. Every person adds value. Like, no matter what your perspective is, when Fuqua says we're like building this unique and diverse cohort, which I know I've already mentioned before, but it's something where it's ever present in our efforts and admissions. We look at every applicant and say, what does this person bring to the table? What about them's different? But also, how will they interact with all these other people who are also considering? So it's very much just like puzzle piece configuration. So just instilling confidence in applicants that they are bringing valuable perspective is important. But then also as a staff perspective and admissions, providing them with the resources they're asking about. So if they're interested in being connected to someone LGBTQ+, because that's an important part of their journey in graduate school, we can do that through ambassadors or other students that we know are comfortable talking about that. Meeting them at certain events like Ramba or bringing them in for Pride Weekend is huge for our
Pride
students.
Weekend is huge.
So having those resources in place, which is really important, I think, like biggest tip for any student in general applying to business school is ask about resources that you care about, but especially from the LGBTQ+ perspective, if that's something that is important for you over the next year or 2 years that you'll be investing in that program, ask that on the forefront of the admissions staff or anyone you interact with. Ask that of current students. I think from admissions, I'm happy to talk to you for hours and answer all questions you have about the application process and career outcomes and everything you want to hear. But the most valuable experience, like Bruno said, is talking to the students who are actually doing it. Mm-hmm. They're living it, they went through it, they know what to tell you, and that experience is like invaluable. Or really valuable. I don't know if invaluable is enough, but it's really, really valuable. So yeah, just instilling confidence in the applicant that they're doing the right thing if they're confident in it, they're providing, they're doing something good for themselves, and that we have resources to support them if this makes sense for them.
Right, and they're worth the investment in themselves. Like, yes. I always, try and encourage people to continue to invest in yourselves and know that you deserve this, right?
Absolutely.
So you hinted, Bruno, on kind of the Fuqua Pride initiative. So maybe, as two incoming co-presidents, maybe you both can kind of share what's on the table, what are your objectives, what's your mission, what do you want to accomplish, and then what are the traditional programs that you are tried and true legacy that you're going to keep and continue?
Sure. I'll talk a little bit and then you go, because for sure I'm going to forget something. But we went to Rumba, which is the Reaching Out MBA, which is kind of organization that wants to leverage the LGBTQ plus people in the business scenario. Last year was in Washington, D.C., and it was very good. It has a lot of opportunities, not only for networking, but also maybe to an early offer for your summer internship. But just for me, when I went there and I saw a lot of people not like me, but with some similarities. I said, okay, I feel very comfortable here to express myself. I don't have to try to be someone else here. There are a lot of companies that are here because they want to hire LGBTQ plus people. And this was kind of a feeling that I was afraid in the beginning of my life. And I was like, how are the companies going to see me? Like, because if I go to bank, they're probably gonna be super macho, and how it's gonna be. And to be there and see that people really open to help us and hire us was very good for me. Also, we had a coming out panel, which was an amazing event because we had some of our peers to share their experience about when they came out. So it is very something that gains a lot of emotions because I remembered when it was with me, and but at the same time I saw how fortunate I was to have my family and everyone to support me and to see that it's not everyone who has this kind of luck. So my goal with Fuqua Pride is really to try to embrace those people and say that no matter what happens with your like family and friends, I know that they are unique people, but we are here for whatever you need. So I think that I'm already like saying more things that I should, but yeah, I would say Rumba was very important. The coming out panel as well. You even went to the Rumba track, right?
Yeah. So early on in the summer, there are Rumba treks that you can go to if you're interested in a specific industry. And there, early on, I got to network with different LGBTQ plus students who are going to different schools. So that really helped me build my network. But also I got to network early on with some of the companies that I was interested in. And for me, it was very insightful also seeing the diversity that was on the panel. Again, I wanted to see people who, were all different. And that would ensure that I felt like I could come into a company and be my authentic self. So that's something that I did early on in the summer. But I guess just going back to initiatives, Bruno and I ran on a platform that we really want to uplift the voices and needs of those within the LGBTQ community. And community build. I know that Jason Andrew did an amazing job. We do.
Their programming was just fabulous.
It was phenomenal, and that's something that me and Bruno want to carry on into this next year. I know coming in, Jason Andrew and the social team did a summer barbecue early on, and that was one of the first touch points I had with the Fuqua community. And so just coming in my first day, I was like, I already know people, this is gonna be fine. So those are some of the initiatives that we're running on, but also just, and I think Bruno might have mentioned this earlier, cross collaboration with different groups. I think what's very special about Fuqua Pride is there's so much intersectionality within it. So for me, Latina, I'm part of ALMA, Fuqua Life, which is the low income first generation experience group. And then I think Bruno, you're part of LASA and Fuqua Pride, and we have people in DAFA as well. So just building those, strengthening, because we do have those connections already, but strengthening them into the new year and just seeing how we can build allyship and just more of the Team Fuqua.
And just to add one last thing, also the drag show, which is oh my god, it is amazing. And this is something that we also see the allyship there, because there are people allies that want to perform and do their moves and everything, which was very, very good, and it's for a good cause, because we raise money to give to a LGBT center here in Durham. So at the same time that we are engaging people, the allies, that we are helping other community centers here in Durham. So we felt very, very glad about how it went this year actually, and we're gonna have a high bar to achieve next year, right?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, we just talked about this a little bit before we went live, but to the extent there anyone that's out there who's interested in some of our one-year master's programs, and we wanted to make sure that there's also an opportunity for cross-fertilization and inclusion across the program. So Fuqua Pride is an MBA club, but it's open to students across different programs, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And we're more than welcoming. We want to strengthen our community. So if you're in the one-year program, join us. We're friendly.
Can you talk a little bit about what's a typical day like for you both? I mean, you're both first years, right? And
Yes.
so what's a typical day like for you, just so that folks out there get a sense for what it's like to be an MBA student?
So my typical day, I don't think is like the same every day. So I'll just say it broadly. So on Tuesdays and Fridays, Tuesdays and Fridays, that's when I take classes. So I have a 10 to 4 p.m. slot, and those are great. I'm taking right now pricing, strategy of pricing, which has been very insightful, and the professor is hilarious. And then also BCP, which I have enjoyed. It was a bit challenging for me at the beginning, but I'm like, okay, I'm easing into this. I get what's happening.
What's BCP?
Business of Common Purpose. It's one of our core classes.
Okay.
And typically after that, I am in meetings. So I'm doing the transition from co-presidency for ALMA and Fuqua Pride. So it's been a bit busy. But then also I try to carve out time to do homework, but also make time for my friends too.
Yeah.
Coming in, something that was important for me was the network and building friendships. And so I really kind of wanted to nurture those. And so when I have time, I'll definitely rally up my friends. Let's go out to eat. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. So yeah, the typical day it's not really consistent. It kind of just varies for me at this point.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to try and accomplish before you kind of head out? I mean, you have a whole another year, but what's kind of your vision for what you'd like to accomplish throughout these 2 years?
Yeah, so for me, I'm just big on DEI, so Fuqua has done an amazing job in terms of that, but I think we can do better. Mm-hmm. And so some things for me, I was in the DEI work group for the MBAA cabinet and was able to be involved in these different sort of panels. So we had a daring dialogue the other day on gender roles and how identity has really impacted that. And I thought it was just so important for the Fuqua community to hear the diverse perspectives and experiences of others. And so just going back to my original point, just for me, making Fuqua more inclusive, more diverse, and then something that I've been going on it's early on in my journey, but I have healing to do from my childhood. And so I've utilized CAPS to really help me start that. And so
can you talk a little bit about CAPS? What's CAPS mean?
Yeah, so CAPS, I think it's counseling and psychological services. And so coming in, I didn't know much about it, and Stephanie Robertson was amazing in my journey to figure out everything. And so for me, and I don't want to speak for all minority groups, but in my experience, health and wellness was very taboo and something you kind of had to handle yourself secretly. And that's something that I kind of want to address at the Fuqua community and see how we can make it just more known and accessible to others. So that's something else I want to work on.
Oh, that's great, because mental health is so important throughout this journey, and so glad that you're focused on that. What about you, Bruno?
Yeah, so
First of all, what's your typical day like?
yeah, I'll say that we don't, just like Ashley, I don't have one day that it's the same, which is great. So I have classes 4 days a week, and I'm also in meetings for transition for Fuqua Pride. I'm also I'm one of the Fuqua Buddy coordinators, and just to explain a little bit about that, so whenever someone is admitted, even round 1, early action around 2, we have the Fuqua Buddy coordinators who help make some matches to the admitted students with the first year students, so they can be one person that you can call all the time and say, okay, should I go to that building or this other building? What should I do? And so you have that one person to help you whenever you need. So it's very good to do that. I really enjoy, and we try to make connections with the similarities. So especially, for example, like a Brazilian admitted with a Brazilian first year. So maybe because you're gonna have some similar backgrounds or something like that, that can encourage you to make your decisions. In terms of my goal for this upcoming year, so during fall 2, I'm doing exchange program. So I'm going to another university in Milan, Italy. So I talked to Ashley because we have Fuqua Pride, but we figured out the best way. I said, I'm not putting any more lift on your shoulder, don't worry. But it was an opportunity that I want to do. It was something that I want to do before I came to Fuqua, and I saw this opportunity and I said, okay, I should do it. So this is something that I really want to accomplish and try to take from Fuqua to this university what I've learned and come with great initiatives as well from Italy to Fuqua and make this exchange of information and experience, which is something that is very, very valuable for me.
And Ben, so for you, kind of what advice would you want to share with individuals who are thinking about applying, or anything that we haven't covered already, especially as it pertains to LGBTQ plus?
Yeah, I kind of touched on it earlier, but I think it's never a bad idea to establish some sort of rapport with the admissions directors for whatever programs you're applying to. Becoming a familiar name and face, one, that's a great way to get the most reliable information, but two, just becoming familiar and getting to know them is a better way to get insight into the program. I also said this earlier, but connect with current students. I think every school, every program has ambassadors of some aspects, like we have for all of our programs. And we're happy to give you that lens into the program and what it looks like. And again, that's the most invaluable resource. But use those resources that are available on the website, or contact your admissions directors to ask them questions, connect with the current students. And then we do programming year-round to engage students, whether it's just a virtual information session, campus visits, the Fuqua Pride weekend. There's tons of stuff that goes on throughout the year that you can learn about through us, the website, current students. Just establish that rapport and start asking the important questions, because again, you'll be investing a year or 2 years of your life into these schools or these programs, so making sure that you can see yourself there and you have all the knowledge that you want is super important to make sure you're headed the right way.
You had mentioned about when you moved here to Durham. How has living in Durham helped you build community at Fuqua?
Yeah. So very biased. I'm a staff member who has chosen to live in Durham inevitably, and I love it. But for a bit of background, I'm from a very small rural town in South Carolina. I went to a very small private liberal arts college also in South Carolina. And when I was looking to move and receive full-time employment after college, I was actually living in Boise, Idaho, which is very up and coming, but Idaho is itself not super progressive. So one of the biggest parameters I wanted to make sure that I was kind of looking at when I was looking at jobs and places to live was I wanted to live somewhere where I could lean into my queerness. And I felt really comfortable doing that in Durham. I knew one person when I was moving here who kind of spoke to its diversity and how progressive and young it is, and that was really exciting to me. And being here in Durham, that's become more and more true every day. I did move here at peak COVID, so that was interesting to navigate, but ever since I've been here, I've been connected with people in the community, whether it's through Fuqua, through the Greater Duke University, or the Durham community. I have a great set of friends who are all gay, and that's the first time I've ever had that in my life, which is amazing to be able to act and talk differently than I ever have growing up because of the situation I was in. Not that it was bad, but it was just confining in some ways. So the fact that Durham is this very nice progressive bubble with progressive and forward-thinking young people, it's very fun both here at work. I feel like we have good conversations, very open, but I can leave, be on the weekends, enjoy my time in Durham, and really enjoy it as well. I think We were talking about Durham Pride happens in September every year on Duke's East Campus, which is so fun. There's queer spaces like The Fruit or The Pinhook, which put on really fun parties on the weekends.
So fun.
But Durham's a great place to be, I think.
Yeah.
And I feel very comfortable and very happy being here. And the longer I'm here, I love it. So.
Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned some of the specific aspects of Durham that are very open and supportive. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about, because the programming that I feel like Fuqua Pride also has been interesting in terms of inviting individuals who are political activists in the Durham area, in the North Carolina area, Raleigh area. Do you want to talk a little bit about any of the programming that you're doing that kind of engages the Durham community into Fuqua, so that our students can also have an impact from that perspective, especially as it pertains to LGBTQ plus rights?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so it was last week that we had an event here, and for me it was a lot of information, to be honest, because it's hard sometimes to see that you have to fight so hard for being who you are in a specific place. I come from Brazil. I've never had any kind of problem, but prejudice there is in anywhere. So we have to fight this every day, and to be closely to politicians here and people who represent the community is something very good and something that we really want to be even closer, because as Ben was saying, Durham has surprised me a lot in a good way to see how welcoming it is. So I was expecting something good, but it's even better, to be honest. And I hope that this is just the beginning, and I hope that Fuqua Pride can continue engaging with the community here, with the people who represent the community, and we can make something even bigger. It's always like a pleasure to have those people like we had last weekend here, and to talk about some what is coming, what is happening right now in the Durham scenario. So it was truly valuable, and I think that we can continue that with the Fuqua Pride in the incoming year.
Yeah, and Jason, Andrew also pushed for collaboration between Alma, my new group. So the speaker, I sadly was on a not sadly, it was a great panel, but I was a speaker on another panel, so I couldn't make it. But the speaker is Latino and openly gay, and so just having that collaboration with Alma, Jace was like, do you want to speak? I'm like, I'm sorry I can't, but I will ask Maria, who is my co-president, to come speak. She did the introduction, and so I think, again, just weaving that intersectionality was amazing, and just being out, I guess, in the greater Fuqua community. Coming here, I was a bit nervous. I come from California, so I was spoiled with like West Hollywood and having that community, and I was like, am I gonna get that in Durham, or where am I gonna feel like I belong? And yeah, Jason and Andrew have showed us like places that are open for us and welcoming for us. Like for our second year send off, we're going to a queer owned bar, right? Yes. Or queer owned winery. Yeah. So
Killer Queen.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I love that place.
Yes.
They did it
last.
Yeah, they did it last year, and this year we want to make
awesome.
a dinner for them, also to thank for all the great job they have done in the past year. So we are hosting a dinner there. It's our first social event as co-president of the Fuqua Pride Club, and we are very excited. And it's even better to be able to support local business, and especially owned by a queer person.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, wow. Any parting words or advice for our folks out there as they're thinking about this journey?
Yeah, I think advice I would want to hear is just, keep going. It's going to get hard and you're going to be challenged, but ultimately that's just going to shape you into like a more well-rounded professional, potentially leader. Some other advice I have, if you are looking into resources, I know for me coming in, I was so scared to talk to admissions, but recognizing, that they are people and they're here to help you was something that I kind of just needed to get over. My first touch point with Fuqua admissions was actually through a program called Admit Me Fellows. So I was a fellow through that, and that program is aimed to serve underrepresented minorities, women, and military personnel who are going through the MBA process. And so I know for me, it was a long list of different resources that are available out there. Some you have to pay, some are free. But if you ever have any questions on, that, you can reach out to me. Again, my name is Ashley Petch, and I'm more than happy to help you through your MBA journey. But yeah, just being vulnerable during this process, being Latina, being a woman, and growing up in a single parent household, I really saw my mom work for everything she had, and oftentimes would struggle a bit, but was just too embarrassed to ask for help. And that trait really carried on with me into my own adulthood. And so I knew I was struggling at times, and I knew I needed to ask for help, but I just couldn't push myself to do it. And so once I recognized that, and started asking for help, I saw things happening for me. And so don't be scared to ask for help. We all want to see you succeed, and we're here for you.
Love that.
Yeah.
Wonderful advice.
I would say that, first of all, trust yourself. I think that this is the base for you to grow in every spectrum of your life. So we mentioned about the imposter syndrome here. This is going to happen. This is unfortunately something that it's embedded in our bodies, and we can't sometimes control it. But trust yourself and try to make it the best of it, and also allow yourself to be vulnerable. This is not a bad thing, and try to see how you can grow with that. And if you are applying to Fuqua, remember what we said, that we have here great people, different people, a very diverse background, and we are here to help you. And so rely on people here. Whatever you need, we're gonna find someone that will be able to help you. And I can say that for my own experience, because as I mentioned, I talk to a lot of people, not because it's a requirement, but because I felt very good talking to people from here. So yeah, we are here to help, and we'll do our best to help you achieve your goals.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think knowing that the constant journey of finding your identity is ever evolving. It doesn't start and stop on one day. So knowing that, if you're applying to graduate school or business school or Fuqua, that it's just the next step in your journey. And thankfully, we were able to have a really fun conversation today that shows you there are interesting conversations and interesting perspectives here, and that they're welcome, and that this is a place to discover yourself, to lean into your identities, and it's just another way to keep that journey moving forward. So yeah, have confidence in who you are, and knowing that you might be different in a year, but that's exciting.
That's right. Well, that's a wonderful note to end it on. This time always flies by so quickly. I just want to thank all three of you. It's been so wonderful to hear your lived experiences and your stories and your advice. And I know that the folks out there have really gained a lot, as much as I have. And I like, this is sometimes we talk about this as being a safe space, but someone mentioned this to me recently, a brave space. I feel like it's really important, especially as individuals with all different kinds of identities, but identities that at times are underrepresented, right? That we have community, we find community. I am a big proponent of saying community begets community, and each of you have been a demonstration that you create community for others and for yourselves, and you create these brave spaces for all of us. So I want to thank each of you. I wish you all the best, and thank you, Ben. This has been such a wonderful experience doing this with you.
Very fun. Thanks for creating this community right here. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you to all of you. Thanks again for sharing this time with us. We hope that it's been really enlightening conversation, that you've learned a lot more about not just the Fuqua community, but the special individuals that are inside of our community. This is the last of our Blue Table Talk of the academic year. Tune in for the fall for the new season. And thanks for watching. Thanks again, you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.